What's up, YouTube? So behind me is my 1988 Dodge Ram Charger. It got an 89.59 Cummins, and this past winter I decided to remove all the wiring and start fresh. I added in a 21 circuit harness, a relay box, continuous duty solenoid, a circuit breaker, and a Dakota digital dash system. There's no aftermarket harnesses available for these vehicles, so you're pretty much on your own. There's plenty of companies making harnesses, universal ones, that would work. For me, I just went with an Amazon one. It was fine. I believe American Auto Wire makes a harness. Painless is another well-known brand, and Frapper from stock sells some sort of painless kit with a firewall adapter for first-gen pickups. So the wiring is getting pretty old on these old vehicles, and it's time to update it. You don't need the Dakota digital cluster, but I added that in, type of thing. It's what I wanted. But wiring will be the same concept as wiring in your stock Dodge cluster. So we're going to start under the hood. We're going to work our way into the cab, and we're going to work underneath then, and I'll show you guys how I did it and what I did. It's more so a how I did it type of video, not a how-to, not wire for wire. It takes too much time, and it's different for every application. So I'll bring you guys over and we'll go from there. Alright, so we're going to start right here at the battery. Military style terminals added on. These covers, I'm going to end up putting some magnets on the bottom so they can stick down, but I'll figure that out later. So 0 gauge cable goes down to the engine for ground. We have a 4 gauge here to our red support. So this is our whole body ground here, and I also have an engine to chassis ground down underneath. Our hot side, we have a 0 gauge cable, comes down underneath, goes around to the starter. See if I can get this here. The black cable. I know it's not red, but it's expensive, and that's why I had. So right here we have a 6 gauge cable, comes down around, goes underneath the radiator over to our alternator, and another 6 gauge hot wire coming to a 150 amp circuit breaker. So this circuit breaker will trip off on if anything goes wrong, and this circuit breaker then follows in behind the fender over to a continuous duty solenoid. I want to add in now that the fuse box in the cab is actually connected on the same wire as the hot wire over here. We have constant power inside, not a switched continuous duty solenoid power. The solenoid powers this relay box. Under here is a universal 6 relay universal box. This will power my high beam, low beam, fuel shut off, KSB, starter, and my electric fan. I have one extra right now. I'm going to leave it like that in case I want to add something in later on. Back here is a Deutz 48 pin firewall connector. I'm pretty sure I have this in backwards, but I'm going to figure that out later. It's not a huge deal. Throughout the harnesses, I've added in Deutz connectors, 6 pin, 4 pin, 2 pin connectors everywhere, so I can break this apart in different sections and I have one big harness for the whole vehicle. There's a rear section of a harness down here that will go to the rear that breaks off, and I'll show you guys in a bit. Coming out of here, for you guys with the Dakota system, this is where I ran my Dakota wiring for my coolant sensor, my oil pressure sensor, and my VSS. This comes out of the original Speedo cable hole, and I've ran it down to the engine. So coolant temp sensor's back there, our oil pressure sensor is here, and the VSS is down underneath on the transfer case. So coming back over, we have 2 extra wires here now, harnesses, sorry. So one harness is for my wiper motor, and the other one runs over to the blower, alternator, and the washer box. Another example of the Deutz connectors is I've used this on the wiper motor here, so it splits apart, easier to take apart if you ever had to. Coming across, the harness is in the loom, comes down to our blower motor. Blower motor has a ground and an input from your blower switch. The common ground I've used for the blower motor and washer switch is right here on the fender, as you can see. And this connector here is for our washer pump, which also just takes a ground from the fender and the input from the button on the washer. Coming across, this is a harness here for my alternator. I have a tack wire in this and 2 power exciting wires from Keon switched. That feeds over to a 1-wire alternator right here. If you have a 1-wire alternator, it'll make this whole thing a lot easier. You don't have to worry about voltage regulators. And that's wired in here. The red wire there is actually my tack signal wire, and the other 2 down there are the Keon power wires for the regulator. Over here, let's see if I can get down here. There's wiring harnesses here for my lights. The common ground for the lights is on the rad support. This is the same on both sides, so I'll only show one side. So there's a ground there for your park lights and turn signals, as you can see. And our headlights is up here. High, low, and a ground. It's really straightforward and easy to do once you understand how the system works. I want to recommend anyone who's doing this, get a factory service manual, work on one section at a time, and move on to the next. And our fan wiring is just down here. Most people are not going to have electric fan on a first gen, but I did because I needed it in this application. We'll move into the cab now. I'm just going to get a light set up. It's a bit dark in the cab because I was planning on doing this outside, but the weather sucks and it's been snowing again today, so I'll get a light set up and come back. Okay, so over here we have our headlight switch from Dodge. I just put a Chevy aluminum knob on it. This here is our dimmer switch for our new Dakota cluster, which is a super nice cluster. Your tach, speedometer gauge, and various gauges over here. I've done a video on that if you want to check it out. The last knob right here is for my electric fan. Over here now, we'll go over here. I have the factory radio left in it. Heater controls stayed the same. And right here is a switch for the Dakota cluster to be able to change some settings. I just mounted it in one of the holes for the old fuse box holder. Underneath where the fun starts to happen. The green and black box to your left is a TAC interface module. You can also use this for speedometer. What this does, just takes ignition, power, ground, and an input from the 1-wire on your alternator, and you connect it up to your phone, Bluetooth, or you can do it manually on here. And what you can do is you can pick, like, say, 6-cylinder diesel, and it'll change the interface and send it over to this green box here, or black and green box here on the left. This here is pretty much what controls your cluster. So on the bottom pretty much is all the inputs from your various sensors that Dakota provided, and there's power and grounds there, switch key on, tack wire, 4x4 light. And on the top side of this is like your turn signals, your lights and whatnot, and various other things. So if you're doing a wiring harness on one of these, you're going to have a rear section, a front section, and a cab section. Your cab section is going to include the wiring for your cluster, your radio, your heater, and whatnot. So instead of me putting this up to my cluster, it goes down here, and then 1 wire runs up to my cluster, type of thing. So you guys with stock clusters, don't worry. Up here is my fuse box. So the fuse box is mounted here with 2 rib nuts. It's a decent location. I think it's good, way better than the factory location. It won't get wet, and it's easy to check fuses if you ever had to. Coming over, this is the factory connector here for the steering column. I left this alone, and on the back side of this is where I actually made changes to join a new harness. So what I did was cut all the wires and join them in with the new harness there, and I followed the factory diagram, and it worked out great. And our ignition switch is still wired in up on top. It's very hard to see. And over here, our high beam switch is wired in. This is a pretty simple task. Only 4 wires on that. And our headlight switch way up there is wired in. I wish I could show you guys that, but it's all covered in, and that was wired in. I just followed the factory diagrams and figured out what worked, what, and how it worked, and made it work. Over here is our 48-pin connectors again on the inside. There's 3 connectors here. One's the old clutch switch one. The black one there is the rear section for ram charger lighting, and the gray one is what I got to connect the black one too pretty much when I finish this. I'm gonna turn the lights on there now. I'm just gonna put battery power back on it, and we'll see what it looks like. I have the factory radio left in here. The factory heater controls are still here. So what I did was I used the factory heater control wiring from here to the resistor, and then the wiring going to the blower, I believe it was just one wire, was all I had to add on in the ground outside on the fender that you guys already seen. Turn our key on. Battery voltage might be down a little bit now, but our radio's on, our cluster's on. We'll turn on our lights. So our cluster lights up red. Our heater is on, radio's on. This is all tied into the park lights. It's very easy once you understand how the system works. Blower is on. It's high speed. That's low. Works great. Turn that off. Radio works, just static right now. I don't have the station changed. Our dimmer switch, so what this will do, this will turn the lights down in the cluster. Hard for you guys to see this, but you can turn it back up. Horn is wired in. Just one wire goes out. Our washer's not hooked up because I'm waiting to get a new windshield put in, but you can probably hear that it works. Our intermittent wiper module is hooked up. And also a 4x4 light. So what happens is that 4x4 light, I actually ground side switch this, so it takes a ground from the transfer case, and when it's closed it'll light up the bulb like so. 12 volts goes to the bulb all the time, and it's ground side switch when you put it in 4-wheel drive. And it also lights up here on the cluster. Let's see if you guys can see this or not. Probably not, but it says 4x4 on. We're going to move down underneath. I also want to mention I left all the speaker wiring the same in this vehicle. No need to touch the speaker harness. I tied it back into the factory radio, no problem. I really need a ramp home, but we'll live with this. Underneath is Deutz 8-pin connector, so I can break the rear section of the harness apart. Up here is our reverse switch. Ground side switch as well, like the transfer case. Coming across, our VSS cable here from Dakota Digital goes into the transfer case, and across here is our ground side switched wire for our 4x4 light. So it takes the ground from the case. When the switch closes, sends a signal up to the 4x4 light. Our wiring then follows the frame rail throughout. We're going to move to the rear now. Here at the rear. So at the rear we have rear lighting, fuel gauge. Put it into this trailer box. So this is a universal trailer box. I figured this would be the most neat and tidy way to do this. It breaks the circuit apart if you wanted to. Gets a ground over here. And our park lights, turn signals, and everything's in this, and our fuel gauge wiring is in that gray connector that then runs to the fuel tank. That was pretty easy. 2 grounds and 1 signal wire from the tank runs up to the cluster, and that works fantastic. I never had not a problem with that, hooking that up. And I'll just show you guys that the lights do work as well. Outside, battery's probably down a little bit now, but park lights are on, headlights are on. All our taillights are on. And we'll just test our reverse lights. I never ever did have reverse lights on this vehicle, so nice to have if you're backing out of a parking spot or whatnot. And they work as well. So this has been my project for the past little while. posting this up. I wish I could post it outside, but I'll do it in here just to show people what they can do. I wouldn't be afraid to take this task on. It's a nice little project, and if anything ever did happen, you'd know where to go if a problem came to, type of thing. So thanks for watching, and please make sure to like and subscribe. I'm going to try to post more first gen content and might move into some second gen stuff this summer.